The Wire is a classic HBO show created by David Simon which looks at the drug trade of Baltimore, Maryland, following the dealers and kingpins as they plough their trade and the cops out to stop them. The Wire has many iconic characters like Detective McNulty, Bill Rawls, Avon Barksdale, Stringer Bell, Proposition Joe, and of course Oh My Little, the most iconic character of the show. But if you were to ask who is the quintessential Wire character, one who embodies the show's spirit and is a flagstone of the many issues The Wire looks to tackle, I would argue there is a good case for Preston Bodie Broadus. Bodie is a character who starts off as a low-level drug dealer in the pit. It's thought that his mother, who was an addict, died when he was a child and he was subsequently raised by his grandmother. He began dealing drugs at the age of 13, and by the time the first season of The Wire comes around, he is a 16-year-old dealer whose fighting spirit and adherence to the street code makes him a stable Barksdale Organization member. Bodie is often quick-tempered, displaying an anger and tough front which may be something of a cover for insecurities and frustrations he has to deal with, which become more apparent in later seasons, such as when the death of his brother is brought up, or when he becomes jaded with the game. He is a constant presence in The Wire, often in the background, notably challenging D'Angelo's soft leadership style, gaining entrustment from Stringer, who has him perform more difficult tasks such as picking up supplies in Philadelphia, but eventually ending up as a man without a country, with a poor corner of his own after Marlo takes over most of the streets and the Barksdales are more or less wiped out or in prison. However, given his adeptness at his craft, Bodie turns the undesirable corner into a successful market, and after doing all the hard work, Marlo swoops in, and Bodie reluctantly ends up working for him. Bodie laments the way Marlo violates the rules of the streets, with him even willing to go to the police to get people like Marlo out of the game, but he is killed by Marlo's people before he is able to do so. I always liked Bodie. He is a character who starts off as an atypical street thug, someone who you actually hate after acts such as the killing of his friend Wallace, but he creeps up on you throughout the course of the show, to an extent where his death was probably the one that hit me the hardest. Bodie is the archetypal soldier of The Wire, the pawn on the chessboard who remained in that position until he is removed from the game. His life is so embedded into the game, so intrinsically part of it, that it is almost comically sad when he comes to realize there are even radio stations outside of Baltimore. Even going back to killing Wallace, it's his adherence to the street code that sees him carry out putting an end to his friend's life. And when the time comes around to do the deed, you see that he clearly isn't ready. He tells Wallace to face it like a man, not to be a boy. But it's much for his sake as anyone else's, as he wants to see Wallace as part of the game and not his close friend, to make it easier to shoot him, which he's unable to do so without Poot, who is the one who makes the killing shot. Bodie repeatedly insults Wallace, as if trying to convince himself to hate him, to push away the responsibility of the situation away from himself and load it onto Wallace. But he just can't. He knows the reality of the situation, what he's doing, he's killing his close friend. Poot is the one who actually is able to carry it out and finish the job quickly, ending his pain, Bodie's pain, and Wallace's pain. If Poot is a smart-ass pawn, if ultimately being the only one who successfully got out of the game, Bodie is a soldier with a heart. Fast forward to season 4, when after Bodie has put his heart and soul into the game, remains stuck on a corner working a thankless job. In season 1, it is he who says the smart-ass pawn line, as if envisaging a career path where he crosses the board and becomes a queen. But in his talk with McNulty in season 4, he says, "We like them little bitches on the chessboard." A moment of self-reflection where he knows he's destined to remain a pawn. He was loyal to his crew, to Stringer, to the game, and it got him nowhere in life. Bodie makes his last stand facing off Chris and Snoop, going out fighting as he did in life. Like the pawn that he is, Bodie is rooted to the spot, firing diagonally left and diagonally right. The bishop Chris moves diagonally across the street, while Snoop, the rook, comes straight down the street, and it is the knight, O-Dog, who comes out of a vacant, turns 90 degrees, approaches Bodie and takes him out. The last real OG street soldier of the Barksdale crew, Bodie's death symbolized the death of the old ways, making way for the ultra-violent and lawless era of the Stanfields.